Hey everyone, it's Patrick Dunn here from InterCourse Chef Services. It's a very cold January day here in Calgary, Alberta, and I thought today would be a good day to shoot a video and talk about choosing knifewear. Now, choosing knifewear is an intuitive choice. What I mean by that is I always tell my clients when they ask, what knife is the best one for me? Which one is really, really good? Which one's the best? And try as I might, I don't have a short answer for them. I have to go into a long sort of conversation about it because the knife that you choose is really a personal choice. What works for me and what helps me slice and dice and chop may not feel good in your hand. And it's just one of those things, very similar to choosing equipment that you need for your sport or your hobby. Like if you're a painter or if you're a golf enthusiast, if you like playing baseball, all your equipment is a very personal choice, and why it works for you may not necessarily work for someone else. So when you go into a knife shop, you want to go to a shop that lets you actually handle the knife. Hopefully they're going to have some fruits and vegetables on hand that you can practice on, and that's going to give you an idea whether or not the knife that you're using is the one for you. Does it feel, you'll often hear the expression, does it feel like an extension of your hand? And that's true. Can you see yourself chopping a lot of fruits and vegetables with this without getting tired? Does the knife feel comfortable in your hand? Is it too heavy? If it's too light, if it's too long even, that's going to affect your sort of interaction with this knife, for lack of a better word. When I was training as an apprentice, we always had really big, huge honking knives. And we were told, you're a chef now, or you're an apprentice now, you need to get comfortable with this. And I used a lot of knives that just didn't work for me, either too heavy or too long. I just didn't feel like I could get the job done. So let's talk about a few knives. I'm going to talk about 3 basic knives that are going to get you going in the kitchen. They're going to get you started, and they're going to pretty much do the majority of tasks that you're going to need. Alrighty. First one, I call it the workhorse of the kitchen, and that's going to be something like this. This is a French knife or a chef knife. This one's about 8 inches long. This one's made by a company called MAC, M-A-C. And the reason that I like it is the length of it, the weight, the way you hold your knife is part of the equation. You'll never see a professionally trained chef holding their knife like this. This isn't a baseball bat. Okay? What you'll see is them taking their pinchy fingers and pinching what would be considered the neck, right here. After that, you take those 3 fingers, wrap them around the handle, and you're going to see that your thumb rests just somewhere on the other side. Alrighty? This is a very firm, professional grip. This allows you to get into the game. Alright, it's going to give you a lot of control, a lot of dexterity, and a lot of confidence. Often what I see in my cooking classes is people slicing and dicing like so. Now, you'll never hear me say, this method or that method is wrong. But you might notice, if you're in the habit of holding the knife like this, you may start getting some pains going up your hand and up your arm. Alrighty? And that pain you might associate with cooking. Cooking is painful, I don't want to do it. Alright, so try practicing that new grip, okay? Just like so, and then try your slicing and dicing. Alrighty? So that's a good little grip right there to know. Like I said, this is your workhorse. This is going to do the majority of the work for you in your kitchen. After that, we have this guy. Now this guy I love. It's called a utility knife. It's about a 5.5 inch utility knife, made by the same company called MAC. I'm not sponsored by MAC, by the way, I'm just a big fan. And this will do about 80% of what this previous guy did, this chef knife. Alrighty? It's just a really great multi-purpose knife. I can cut up cheese, I can dice onions, I can slice up oranges, grapes, I can mince fresh herbs. This guy does almost everything that you need. Different companies have their own version of this. Sometimes I call it a glorified paring knife. It's great. I really recommend it. I've given it to friends and family at Christmas, and they all say they just love it. Okay. The other one I want to talk about is this guy. You've probably seen these lately. All the regular manufacturers like Henkel's and Trident and Sabatier, they're doing their own version. Seems like all the celebrity chefs now have their own type of knifewear out there. This style of knife does the same job as the classic chef knife. Okay, this one's called a santoku. Right, it's Japanese style, and as you can see, the difference between this one and the chef knife, it has a straight top that comes down to a tip like so, and then it has a bit more of a flat, sharp side with a slight curve at the very end. And the idea here is it was mainly used for chopping, so a very straight up and down motion. But you can also, since it has this little built-in rocker, you can get that rocking motion if that's what you're used to. Okay, so it's just variation on the theme. The santoku does the same jobs as a classic French knife, just a different style. Often the neck is much shorter, so it can work really well for people who have bigger fingers. Okay, so just a little variation there. And the other ones I want to talk to you about are, of course, the bread knife. Alrighty, I've had this knife, this particular one. It's made by a company called Icel out of Portugal, ICEL, and I've had this for probably over 10 years, and it's still super sharp. It's just the way it's been manufactured, it just holds onto its edge really well. I don't know if you can make it out on the camera, but the serrated teeth, they look like waves on an ocean, like so. And obviously that's really great for slicing bread, but what you may not know is that it's really good for slicing overripe fruit like tomatoes. Okay, and with the serrated edge, it goes through the ripened skin very easily. So in the unfortunate event if you've let your chef knife get a little bit too dull and it's not really slicing through as sharply as you would like, you can always reach for your bread knife, and it's going to do the job for you. Okay. The other reason I like this knife is that it has a bit of a bow underneath, so again it has that rocking motion. Okay. A lot of bread knives out there can be very straight on the bottom. They almost, if you took the santoku and stretched it out and gave it a serrated bottom, that's what some of the bread knives out there look like. And I find those really hard to work with because the bottom is so straight. When you're cutting bread on a cutting board and you get to a certain point, it doesn't cut all the way through the bread. So little silly finicky things like that sort of make me choose this type of knife instead. And the last one I'm going to show you is this guy. This guy is kind of scary. Look at the size of this guy. This is a slicer, okay? And the only things I really use this for, you can tell I don't use it very much because it still has the, you can still see the logo on there, okay? So it doesn't get a whole lot of use, but for when I do use it, it does a phenomenal job. Typically I use this to slice roasts or to remove the skin off of the whole pieces of fish. It does that job very well. You can see it has that nice little bow on the bottom. It also has these little scalloped sides, like so. Okay. Concept behind that is that it creates it creates a space between the food and the blade so that the food doesn't stick. Does the food still stick? My food still sticks, so I don't know, take that information as you will. But aside from that, it's an excellent knife. Again, made by Mac, and I quite like it. It's really great. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. There's many other types of knives out there. Maybe in another video we'll talk about other knives. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can send me questions on my YouTube channel, InterCourse Chef. Please check out my blog, bumblingtowardssuccess.com. And please, if you want to learn more about me, check out my website at inter-course.ca. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.